Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of National Entrepreneurship Week's Everyday Entrepreneur video series. I am so excited to be here today with Mr. Dan O'Connell. We're going to talk a little bit about his business, but before I dive into his bio, Dan, you want to say a quick hello?
Hi.
We're so excited. This is a long one, folks, so buckle up. Following a distinguished career in satellite tracking systems, photonics, and renewable energy technologies, Mr. O'Connell founded HNU Photonics with a mission of bringing radical innovation to future photonics manufacturing and imaging technologies. Mr. O'Connell's founding principles for HNU included providing high-tech career opportunities. Mr. O'Connell works closely with the University of Hawaii, focusing on future education programs, mentoring, and training, with a strong personal commitment to developing a high-tech industry base. Mr. O'Connell started his career in science 33 years ago in the field of optical science and photonics. His mission is to use unconventional approaches to bring revolutionary technology to the community. He established business and research relationships with manufacturers and developed numerous optical breakthroughs. Mr. O'Connell has led HNU through concept, technology development, commercialization, and delivery of the highest precision optical systems, digital microfluidics, and imaging technologies. Mr. O'Connell has numerous technical publications and is the named inventor on 20 patents. So that's just an incredible bio. I got to start with some level setting, if that's okay. What is photonics? If you had to explain it to somebody who has no knowledge of photonics, like me.
Photonics is the science of light, the applications of light. And that's what we do. We encompass using light to create new technologies that extract information that is basically hidden in light. So there's a whole new area of science and engineering based on light, how to use light in different ways, and how to how to utilize light in different ways is how we apply it in the sense of photonics, everything to do with light.
This sounds incredibly technical to me. I'm interested in your journey and how you got here. So kind of what started your interest in entrepreneurship? What led to kind of creating HNU?
Probably goes back to when I was in undergraduate school, in taking physics classes, and my first job in the technical field involving lasers and light and optics. I attended a engineering university, and very traditional fields of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering. But I was always interested in the creative aspect of using engineering science and applying it to discovery and applying it to create new things and inventing. And so when I was in college, most of my classmates were focused on where they're going to work, whether it's IBM or AT&T or places like that. But I even back then knew in my heart that I was going to have a lab to create new things.
So even while you're in this engineering program, which is really, like you said, it's designed to kind of prepare engineering students for matriculation into existing larger companies in many ways. You had this spirit of discovery and creativity and kind of innovating. I've got to ask about the patents and the technical publications and that process for you. I know that piece of entrepreneurship can be a little intimidating for folks that are getting started and not knowing where to even begin with that process. So what advice would you have to an entrepreneur that's interested in that process of patent patenting their ideas, or kind of, can you give any tidbits or knowledge to share with that piece?
Yeah, the patenting process is something that's very important for entrepreneur, and it can be daunting at first. And there's lots of materials online that describe the sort of the step-by-step process. And an individual can write an idea and submit it on your own, or write it. An invention disclosure, I think, is the first step and the easiest step for somebody that has a great idea. You can find an invention disclosure template online, and you can fill it out and then submit it to the U.S. Patent Office. And that documents the idea, the date, and it gives you time to develop the full patent document that includes claims. And I would recommend using at that time for the final. So the first step would be an invention disclosure, and then you would work out a little more detail, what's called a provisional patent application. And then you have basically 12 months to finalize your description of your claims and your diagrams with a non-provisional patent application. And at that point, I'd recommend that to find a patent attorney to help with the review of the claims. And a lot of these things you can do on your own, but I think the importance of it, you can do most of it on your own, but I would recommend that to have a patent attorney review it in the end and submit it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, like, that process is helpful for people to hear. So thank you for that. I have to ask, when you were first starting, you went through an engineering program, and so you had like this technical expertise. Did you also have entrepreneurship training formally, or kind of like, what was it like being more on the technical side and then launching a business around this?
Well, I think that, it takes a certain passion for pursuing starting a business, and a commitment, because it is not easy, and there's a lot of challenges. But having that just pure passion for doing something that you're dreaming, to fulfill a dream that you have in your heart. To me, everything about engineering and science that I learned in college, or not even, it doesn't require going to college, but whatever it is you're doing, it requires a passion to really be able to overcome the challenges that you'll face. But it does require creativity and a desire to take those creative ideas and turn them into something that is beneficial, in a business, whether it's a product or a service, to to provide a service to others. And it takes a commitment, but also a passion, something that excites you every day.
Sure. I think too, you had your bio, you had a distinguished career in satellite tracking, photonics, and renewable energy before you launched HNU Photonics. So that probably helped kind of get a feel for what was needed in this space. You mentioned when you were just speaking there, challenges. Can you identify any challenges or obstacles that you faced and how you overcame them?
Yeah. For getting started as an entrepreneur, starting the business, all the documentation, that's required, and it's a journey, and it's a process of learning what all those requirements are, both just forming the business and then doing, you're applying for your patents or even hiring people, staff, employees. That's that's a whole another area of challenges that you won't learn on a job unless you're in the area of um, human resources.
Hmm.
But taking on employees and that timesheets and reporting, the challenges are the learning and growth. Learning but being committed to it. Being um, you know independent research on your own to figure out really what is required, and then getting help. And it's important to know when you need help, and seeking out the right help. And there's a lot of people that can guide and make recommendations and help navigate the process. So there's a lot you can do and learn on your own before you have to have the financial means to take on a facility and staff. And, so it's a journey, a learning journey that
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. I mean, that like idea of just like always be learning is so important. And I think that speaks to it. So, um, you mentioned help. We're big on ecosystem and the support networks that are available to entrepreneurs. Are there any specific organizations or people that helped you get started on the front end that could be uplifted as potential resources for other starting entrepreneurs? And these could be local, but maybe even general to like what also might be available in other local communities.
Yeah, there's economic development boards are extremely important for helping entrepreneurs set out, and whether it's whatever size or scale, they can provide a lot of support, a lot of help, a lot of information. They can make introductions. They can provide material that you need. You can talk and learn a lot of the requirements for setting up a company, and where to get funding and introductions to customers. So local economic development boards, one in particular for me here, Maui Economic Development Board was instrumental at helping us get started. Um, and I think they exist in most areas. So that's a beginning place. Counties, local counties often have economic development offices that help small businesses. And even if there's training and entrepreneurial classes that offered by local, college or independent short courses that that are offered that can help navigate the basics of accounting, because you'll have to be able to read a spreadsheet or those kinds of things. But I would say the first step, economic development boards are extremely valuable and helpful, and go out of their way to help inform you as you go.
Right. And they have a vested interest because the local economy is influenced by small businesses and entrepreneurial developments. And so it's like a reciprocal relationship where you starting a business helps them helping you helps you have a better understanding of like what direction to take it. So I think that's a really good insight for anybody starting up about where to just even begin. You mentioned in your bio this connection with the University of Hawaii around future education. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to kind of the need for education and entrepreneurial education, just if you have any thoughts on that, given your relationship with them.
Yes, when we started the company, about 17 years ago, one of the first contacts I made was to, as I said, the Economic Development Board, but also our county, but then our university. and met with the chancellor of University of Hawaii Maui campus, and established a relationship because I feel very strong to give back. And when students are going through their programs, and because I didn't know when I was in college what what you can do with what you're learning, and having an opportunity in industry just opens your eyes to so much that you normally wouldn't know or have. And so we've provided internships to well over 100, I think now, 100 students over the years. And, that just, and a number of them we've hired, or they've gone on, to other things, but it really enabled them to take the barriers, the limitations, and what they're thinking of. There's so much I could do, and this is how I can apply what I'm learning. It really fine tunes their the direction in their life. So it's been important personally and in the company to have that commitment of contributing, giving back, and mentoring students as they go through their learning process. And what can I do with calculus? What can I do with these things I'm learning? It's not always obvious. So
sure. Yeah, I think in ecosystem building, we call that nurturing our talent pipelines, because even if they don't want to start their own business, they can work really effectively in existing businesses to help innovate. And so I think that's so powerful, the idea of like entrepreneurs giving back to the next generation of potential entrepreneurs. So we talked about some of the challenges that you had. Any just shining successes? Like, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
I think the most exciting accomplishment we've done as a company is we built a medical lab that launched on a rocket and was installed on the International Space Station, and we conducted medical experiments on the International Space Station that we controlled from our facility here. And that's been a childhood passion of what NASA is such an exciting everything that it represents, and to be able to work with NASA and get a medical lab launched and operating in space, working with astronauts, working with people at all the NASA centers to make that possible was incredibly rewarding for our entire staff to because it took a team to make that possible, both our team plus working with NASA and others. So that was a pretty exciting moment for us.
Yeah, that's so cool. I feel like my favorite thing is whenever I ask this question to entrepreneurs and they're so humble as they tell me that they launched a medical lab into space, and I'm just like, wow. I'm sitting on this, I'm like, my goodness, that's incredible. Yeah, especially everyone that the Maui Business Brainstormers have connected us to. I just like sit here in awe of your stories because it's so powerful. Okay, perfect. Well, then this is my last question, because we try to keep this in little commute-sized interviews. What advice would you give to another aspiring entrepreneur that's just getting started? What would be your like one piece of advice if you had the opportunity to talk to them in an elevator? What would you say?
Never give up, and don't necessarily believe when people tell you what your dream is, that it's impossible. Have faith and never give up. And it's every day make it a joy to pursue your dream and your passion. And if it's not a joy, and if it's a burden, then maybe it's, something to reconsider. But it has to be something that you love and brings you joy. And everyone, the other advice is to, share your dream, your vision with others, and you will find people um, supporting you, believing believing in you, and then you're not alone. But don't listen if people tell you what your dream is not possible.
I think that's so powerful. We hear this a lot, that like entrepreneurship to many is perceived as this independent thing, but it's really the result of the people around you believing in you. And I think that's so important for you to kind of share as your like final piece of advice. So where can people learn more about the work that you are doing, just these breakthroughs? Is there a website? How can they get connected to learn more about the different types of things that H New Photonics is doing?
Yes, we have a website. It's HNU Photonics, PHOTONICS.com.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate the
HNU,
the spelling, because I was like, I don't know if I was listening, if I would know how to spell photonic.
yes, HNU Photonics. And HNU is the energy of light. It's a single photon of light. And we get, asked a lot, what is HNU, and they thought it was um, um, suiting to call the company the name where the science of light and the photon of light, quantum photon of light, was founded. And that's the equation of energy in a photon, H nu. So we gave it a technical name.
I love that. I feel like if you don't get it, maybe you shouldn't be doing business with you, huh? Like you got to know that at the basic level. That's great. Very cool. So yeah, we will encourage people to reach out and take a look at what you're doing. These the breakthroughs that you talk about just seem phenomenal. Like if we're sending medical labs up to the International Space Station, you probably got some cool stuff on there to check out. So we're really excited to promote that and send people your way. Dan, thank you for your time. We are so appreciative. I've said this every single time. I'm not just interviewing everyday entrepreneurs, I'm interviewing exceptional entrepreneurs, and I'm grateful to have had you on.
Oh, thank you, Amber. Appreciate your time and having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.